So the current trending story is about Gareth Cliff, John Steenhuisen, and Mudzuli Rakibane. I hope I've pronounced her surname correctly. Rakibane, Mudzuli Rakibane. I've watched the discussion as recommended by a lot of people that they'd like me to watch it and give my thoughts. I'm making this video because I'm giving my thoughts. Almost everything that was discussed was fine. I don't have much issue with it. I will unpack some of the issues I have with it, but they're not that major. And I think they're normal political issues that I have. The big talking point is that in the discussion about Phoenix, where Indian people shot black people during the riots, and the DA ended up putting up a poster saying, the ANC calls you guys racist and we call you guys heroes. And it became a huge racial point. And the DA eventually removed those posters. In discussing race, John Steenhuisen seemed to insinuate that race is not important. The poster was not about race because there were black people and white people and Indian people protecting their properties. And there's nothing wrong with that. And they are heroes. And Gareth Cliff seemed to agree. And Mudzuli raised that race is actually a very, very big factor in this country. We can never discount race in this country, regardless of what matter we're talking about, because it impacted people all the way from apartheid days, where if you know apartheid structuring, black people were moved the furthest away from white neighborhoods. Indians and colors were brought closer, and Indians in particular were given more freedom and more leniency when it came to trading and business. In effect, almost telling Indian people and colored people that they are superior to black Africans and making them, in a way, begin looking down on black Africans, which is still perpetuated to this day, where any black person who has spent time with a lot of colored people, a lot of Indian people, will get a sense that generally coloreds and Indians look down on black Africans. Mudzuli wanted to raise her own experience as a black woman when it comes to race, and Gareth Cliff shut her off very rudely, very dismissive, very insensitive to a black woman wanting to say her piece about, I've experienced race in all forms, systematic, direct, etc. And Gareth Cliff shut her down and said, I think race is not important. I don't like identity politics. Mudzuli tried to speak and say it's not about identity politics. She just wants to raise her opinion, and she was shut down. And listening to it, I felt it in my gut. That moment that probably upset everyone. Very big punch in the gut, very big hit at the throat. Shut up. We're not interested. We're here to speak about service delivery, potholes, water, sanitation, sewerage. We don't care about your racial issues. And you could see Mudzuli being upset by that, but luckily she's very professional and she happened to get over that and was happy to engage and even crack jokes and be sarcastic moving forward. But obviously most South Africans were very touched, and we do live in a racially fueled country. So it only makes sense. You can never count out race in this country, or in America for that fact. Black and white, very, very sensitive. Very sensitive. You always have to tiptoe around it. Unfortunately, we are not at a point where we are mature enough. We're not at a point where our economy is distributed fairly enough, where the land is distributed fair enough, where the lived reality of every person is based on merit. I'm a black South African. I'm working towards moving away from these labels of being black and Zulu. I'm moving towards non-racialism, non-sexism, but that doesn't mean that I'm ignorant of the realities out there. I fully believe that most white people in this country are racist, whether they are aware of it or not. Most Indian people in this country are racist. A lot of black people experience racism on a daily basis. When they walk into a shop, when they get to a complex, they get racism from black security guards. Not because the black security guards hate on them, but because there's a directive from the white board of trustees, from the white boss, from everyone. Look out for these people. They sometimes get up to mischief. We experience racism almost every single day. And sometimes it's masked as money. I can't get into the Kruger National Park because of money. That's not race. That's money. But if you look at the people that have the money in this country and how they got to have the money, it's because there were race-based policies that allowed those people to have an advantage over others. If you look at male versus female, and you're like, no, but that's got to do with money. But look at the history of women who were not allowed to have access to money, to jobs, to businesses. And then today you'll say, no, it's not about race or it's not about gender. That shows that you're either ignorant, whether knowingly ignorant or ignorant not by choice, or you're being mischievous and malicious and trying to fuck with people's heads and make them seem like they're crazy when they're not. So it was very disappointing seeing two white men who people see as very strong, very arrogant, very obnoxious, rude white men who are some kind of maybe alphas who are dominant in their spaces, almost bullying this young black woman who's trying to speak for herself. Ironically, a black woman who speaks such good English, who's so articulate, who clearly has done well within these white systems to educate herself, to become someone that's vocal and can articulate herself in the white man's English. She didn't get to speak her home language, her indigenous language of her people. She's speaking good white English, but trying to explain, guys, even though I speak good white English, even though I'm kind of doing well in this white system, I still have this skin and this private part that oppresses me in this system where I'm trying my best to be the best white man I can be. But since I don't have a penis, and since I'm not light-skinned like white people, I get treated badly. And I want to explain how this affects people. No, shut it down. It doesn't matter. I fully understand and I fully apologize. I'm very sad for what happened. I hope Gareth Cliff, because Gareth Cliff, I've listened to him for years. Gareth is an intelligent guy. He's arrogant. He's rude. Very sarcastic. Has a lot of undertones. But he's an intelligent guy, and I'd like to think he has the ability to look into hindsight and see where he was wrong and come out and apologize. Muzuli, I apologize for what happened in that show. I think I got too caught up with service delivery, and I thought maybe racial issues are national and not local. That was my mistake. I apologize for not letting you speak. It shouldn't be that a white man lets a black woman speak, but it was wrong for me to interject and even get involved while you were speaking and giving your thoughts and your views on painful points about your experiences as a black woman, and hopefully to speak for other black women out there who probably aren't as articulate, who probably don't have the platforms that you have. Apologize. People have gone crazy. They've attacked Nando's because it was on the Burning platform, which is funded by Nando's. Nando's sent out a statement last night saying they apologize for what happened. They don't agree with what Gareth Cliff said. They don't approve what happened. And they said they'll be pulling sponsorship from the show, which I think is wrong. Sorry, I've got a phone call. Which I think is wrong. I think an apology should be good enough. I think an engagement with Gareth Cliff and Muzuli Rakibane on the Burning platform to unpack the issues that black women face, I think would have been more worthwhile, more meaningful, add more value. I don't think some of these things that we do are worth it. I'll stop there, but add on to there. John Steenhuisen asked about why they removed the posters in Phoenix, said he's not apologetic and he still stands by what they said, that the ANC calls you racist, we call you heroes. He says he'll never apologize for that. So he was asked by Muzuli initially and then emphasized by Gareth Cliff, then why did you remove them if that's what you believe? John Steenhuisen said the noise that the media was making and social media was making distracted from what we were doing, so he eventually pulled them down. What I got from him saying that was the media and social media are very powerful and can influence our behavior. I'm saying this because if social media is making such a huge noise about Garrett Cliff and the burning platform, it shows the power of media and social media. We cannot downplay the power that these platforms like Facebook and Twitter and maybe Instagram and YouTube have. We cannot downplay the influence that they have. And the louder you get, the more money you have to boost posts and make sure that enough people are engaging. If you can get on radio and television and other platforms and say stuff without money per se, politicians will listen and will behave. Big corporates will listen and will behave. You guys actually have the power and you maybe don't know it. It goes into who you're following on Twitter, whose posts you're liking and retweeting. A lot of posts are paid for. And unfortunately, a lot of the algorithms that these social media platforms have are biased towards certain agendas. Mark Zuckerberg has been called to account when it came to the politics and the voting in America. Not just now with Trump and Biden, but even in the past. These guys have the power to make you feel sad for a certain political party, demonize another political party, and you're not aware of it because you obviously struggle to think for yourself. That's why we've got what we call thought leaders. We've got a Joe Rogan. We've got a Candace Owens. In South Africa, we've got Amanda Black, who's becoming vocal. I've mentioned Vovo Tirango before. And I'm hoping that more and more celebrities who are all independent of mind, who are not scared of losing the bag and gigs. I know it's sad and we all need to feed our families, but sometimes your core values have to be stronger than money. Because if they're not, that means you can easily support apartheid. You can easily support oppression as long as you're getting paid for it. You're willing to be a front and to watch your own people get oppressed as long as you're getting paid for it. Funny enough, John Steenhuisen kept emphasizing, and Garrett Cliff also gave him a hallelujah of saying we'll work with people who support the rule of law and what's legal. Apartheid was legal, which would mean during that time, they would be saying we need people who support the rule of law. But the rule of law is saying oppress black people, take their land away from them. It cannot be that we're very comfortable to say things like, as long as you respect the rule of law. The same rule of law, they spoke about looting and billions that were taken from the economy. Marcus Jooste from Steinhoff and his band of merry men. No one ever talks about the men he was involved in. You cannot, in a company that big, steal billions or be fraudulent and lie about billions on your own. It's absolutely impossible. There are auditors. There are internal auditors. There's a financial team. There are investors that scrutinize. There are people that work in operations. You cannot do it on your own. I think over 200 billion rand. No one is talking about the money he's stolen from the South African economy and how that has killed the poor and how that's affecting our tax coffers and. Because we know the looting story is very sensitive because it touches on the history of this country. It touches on the oppression of black people, the struggles, the migrations into cities and overpopulation and no jobs, and the corruption by the ANC government and other. It's a mess. The DA speaks about getting things done, but can we compare the black townships in the Western Cape to black townships elsewhere and see that the DA is doing better? Or are they going to keep hammering this point of pointing to the suburbs where the white people, they are rich and they have private security and they have cleaners in their homes and they can clean up after themselves? You have to compare that to Sandton and Umhlanga and other white areas that are not in the Western Cape. It's not about the DA. It's about rich people that can make sure that they can clean their own areas. My apologies again to Mudzuli Rakibane. I hope I pronounced her name right. Look forward to engaging on this. I hope Nando's will give Garrett back his platform. I hope Garrett and Mudzuli can actually sit and unpack the realities of black women out there. Pen you all the black pen. Happy Sunday. Cheers.